I sometimes get students say, my students don't work hard enough in class, and sometimes they say to me, Jonathan, if I was employed, I'd work harder.
Wow, that's
What do
a
you think?
sort of smart student. He only walks, yeah. That's kind of thing. I remember one of my friends. He say one time he told me because the way I talk, sometimes usually I talk very soft, mellow, and because I used to work in construction site, and when it's time to talk, because sometimes in constructions, as anger is one of the way of managing. So when I show anger, I show it. So it's when it's necessary I did. So it's like, oh, you are like a Tai Chi because all the time you look soft, but when times come to push, you really push. So yeah, I think that's how the student says that, isn't it? So he will only require to walk, then only he will start activating, right? But for the school, there may be an issue, isn't it? Because he didn't
Yeah,
learn when he was at the school.
that's part of my issue. Is that if you're
Hmm.
not passionate about your job, if you're not passionate about this profession now, while you're learning, while you have the
Hmm.
freedom to spend time doing what you want,
Hmm.
why are you suddenly going to become so much better when when you're employed? And actually,
Yeah.
I think I remember the student who said this to me, and the answer
Hmm.
is they didn't work much better when they were employed.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's
It
something that
is
we
quite
hear
hard.
something we hear as a tutor. I'd work harder if I was employed. I'm not employed here. You're not my boss, Jonathan.
Hmm.
Hey,
Hmm.
I'm your tutor. I'm not your boss. I'm here to help you. I'm here to tell you what you need to do to succeed.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah,
Mm.
because oh, when I was young, I was grown up, on my grandpa and grandma's hands, and the things he always teach us is, you need to have your, they call it was it iron discipline, according to my grandpa. He called it iron discipline because my grandpa was born in 1921. I think he became a doctor. Both of them became doctors in 1940s. So people are quite amazed that how come both of you get being a doctors. The thing is, according to him, you need to have a discipline. When you need to study, you are a student. Your duty is to study. When you became when you go to the work, that's a job site. You need to. It's your duty to work hard. So if you are, so that's how he trained me, and and also all the he always talk about consistency. So every day I need to study, every day I need to do my a job, because that's my, according to him, he assigned me a job. I don't have to worry about that. To feed me is his job. To study is my duty. So that's how is it, and from them I build up. So that discipline has pays me all the way to until here. So what happened is, go back to, if I didn't study, you know, uh, I won't be able to do all the things like all the professional memberships, all these things. I'm unable to do it because, so that means, to go back to that, is you can't suddenly smart, all the time you've been sleeping, you can't suddenly smart like that. For it's also the same things if you do sports, right? If you want to do a heavy lifting, you need to practice, 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 and at one point you can lift, maybe 100 kilo of weight. So the study is also the same thing. You have to have a discipline. You need to study, 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 and also brain is also like a muscle. So if you are those people, I know that there are so many, those people, they can't concentrate because they in their life they never study properly for the whole life. And for me, it's maybe easier for me, but it may be very difficult then, because to compare the brain like a muscle, they are not training all the time, so they can't flex the brain if required. So you like what you said, it's impossible for his theory is not logical because when I you know they will start working hard when he goes to the job site. No, too late already because he has not been very disciplined. So that what you mentioned is when you go to the job, for example, he never learned for AutoCAD at school, and when you go to the when he got a job, uh, how can he suddenly AutoCAD gurus, isn't it?
Hmm. The but also um, the I would work harder if I was being paid. That
Hmm.
phrase tends to suggest that they don't have any internal motivation to work hard. It has to be
Hmm.
external
Hmm.
motivation. And we know
Yeah.
that external motivation doesn't work. So the reality is that it's that they're not going to work harder if they have a boss because they don't have the internal motivation to work hard now.
Yeah.
The It also suggests to me that there's a lack of pride in their work, that they don't
Hmm.
have the pride to do a good job because they should do a good job of that thing.
Yeah.
And I always try to do the best I can do. I mean, often I fall short. That's true.
Hmm.
But it still
Hmm.
doesn't mean that I'm not trying to do the best I can do. I'm working hard to do it. And I
Hmm.
work hard even when I haven't got a boss.
Hmm. And the other day, you and I, not at the podcast, we talk about curiosity, right? For example, like you're teaching vectors walks, and you taught it by yourself, not other people, because it's curiosity. It's you're driven and you want to learn, and you did
Hmm.
it. And for me, when I,
But I didn't.
when I was, yes,
But I didn't
continue.
just learn it on my own. I went to user group meetings. I looked at what other
Hmm.
people were doing. I read books about it. So
Hmm.
and I talked to other people that used it. So I didn't just do it all on my own. I put a lot of effort into just not just sitting there and trial and error. And the problem with trial and error, of course, it's more error than anything.
Hmm.
But I'd go to
Hmm.
groups where you would see somebody do something and you could ask them something. So I was really
Hmm.
fortunate that I was at this was in the old days when hardly anyone was using it. And it was really
Hmm.
nice to be in those early groups where people were all discovering. There were no books, there were no libraries, there was no uh, Jonathan's YouTube channel or Vectorworks University. Um,
Hmm.
and so, we had to learn on our own. But it was that passion of going to the extra mile, attending the groups once a week or once a month, meeting
Yeah.
people, talking to them. That was the
Hmm.
effort. That was the putting in that extra effort that I used.
Yeah, so you need to be driven and you need to be stay curious. That's important. So yeah, same thing when I study when I did for AutoCAD. The only things there is no YouTube channels. YouTube was in the market. Start invented in 2004. I've been doing AutoCAD before 2004, and the books are also when the books comes out, all the buttons has already moved, or it's you can't find where it says. So I had to. At one point, I went to the architectural office and I was sitting behind the draftman, and I've been looking at how his mouse has been moving for days and before I started drawings, and I said, okay, this is what you did it, and also he is typing all the comments from his keyboard, and I didn't even know what he is doing because I can't see. But over time, I pick up and uh, I know how to draw with use AutoCAD at the time. So that's one of the examples. For example, reading the building code, same thing. Because if you're driven, you will keep on exploring how the building code look like, what the building act is, and you try to interpret. That's how is it? Because if you are not driven and if you're not curious, you will never learn. That's what I believe. And yeah.
Yeah, the today I noticed that two of my first year students were in class. They didn't
Hmm.
have classes today, but they came into the
Hmm.
classroom. The second years were learning, so they worked at the back. They were really quiet, and they got down and did extra study. And I was there if they needed help, but
Hmm.
they are putting in so much extra effort. And the people
Hmm.
who don't put in that extra effort, the people that say I'd work harder if I was employed, I,
Hmm.
they won't.
Hmm.
If they can't work hard now, they won't work hard in the future until they develop that internal motivation.
Yeah.
Um, I was always taught that you need to have self-discipline.
Hmm.
If you don't have self-discipline, somebody else is going to have to discipline you.
Hmm.
In which case, your boss is always going to be telling you what to do. You're never going to get ahead. Your boss is going to want someone that's self-disciplined, someone that they
Hmm.
can lean on, someone they can give a project to and know that that project's going to get done. They don't
Hmm.
want someone that they have to keep watching every day to see if you're doing this, what are you doing next? Let me show you what to do next. Sure, bosses will do that when you're fresh out of college. But when
Yeah.
you've been there for a few years, they don't want to be telling you that. They want you to be self starter. They want
Hmm.
you to be um, seeing what needs to be done next and working on it. And they really want you to
Yeah.
have pride in what you're doing. When you've got pride in what you're doing, when you enjoy doing it, it makes a real difference. So yeah,
Yes.
I've heard students say this to me, and I'd work harder if I was employed, and I think they misunderstand the way the world works.
Yes. Yes. So it's a bit concerning for that.
Take care,
Well,
Ethan.
okay. Take
Time
care
time to
and
go.
good night. All right. Bye.